All right, let's jump into it. So we about to jump into this marriage episode today. Some of y'all may know I'm up here looking at my beautiful shoes that I'm about to wear in a
Mm,
couple of weeks.
okay.
I'm just showing y'all a little bit of my style. But for those that do know, I'm about 3 weeks into a wedding. So we're
Yes.
gonna spend some time over the next couple of weeks talking about the weeks leading up to my wedding day, black
Yeah.
men getting married, and on the backdrop, we're gonna have some perspectives from my compadres on being married before, what it's like to be in a healthy marriage, going through divorce. We're gonna talk about a couple of different topics leading up into my actual wedding day. So I'm really excited. We're really excited to talk about some dynamic conversations around black men, marriage, all the things, fear, anxiety, doubt, you name it. We're going to talk about some of these things and let's get into it on this episode of 4050 Social Club.
Welcome, one and all, to another edition of the 4050 Social Club. We're a virtual forum that focuses on black men and on helpful and healthy ways for us to transition successfully from our 40s into our 50s and beyond. We aim to do this by presenting about a wide variety of topics, from health, wealth, and spirituality, to relationships, to our professional lives and continuing aspirations, to quite simply and honestly just being a great human. As I've shared on several occasions, I wish there had been platforms like 4050 around when I was approaching and beginning to evolve into and through this particular life period. So we hope that you'll engage with us on this podcast as we add to the growing movement to support and to honor black men. Jamin, our eagle-eyed visionary, Quest, our resident helper, and myself, CJ the Seeker, are excited to be here with you today for another injection of the 4050 Social Club. Let's get it.
All right, let's jump into it. So, for starters, we're going to talk about my journey in terms of relationships. Pretty much, I've been a bachelor my whole life. Here it is. I'm 50. I'm walking into my first marriage, the first time I've ever even considered marriage
Yeah.
with a woman.
Wow.
So, this is very special for me. I was always taught and brought up that you should only do it once. You should also make sure that you don't bring a seed into this world with a woman unless you plan on marrying her, which is why I never have had children.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were some things that were instilled in me very early in my life. My mom had me when she was very young. My father was very young. My father was actually younger than my mom. They were, 17, 18 years old. And so this will be the first time seeing both of them together. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
crazy. It's
Wow.
going to be the first time seeing them both together in the same room with me in the center of it since I was like 4.
Wow.
And that was the last memory I've had of my mom and my biological father. I see this vivid memory of me like in a swing on a picnic table or something. It was like we were at a park or something. But anyway, I say all this to say this is about to be a very epic moment for me and a
Yeah.
huge milestone. So we felt like it would be great to kind of walk through some of the nuances, some of the conversations that black men have as they approach marriage, and then also talk about post. So I think it's a great opportunity that probably not too many people get to do together, especially with their homies and boys that they know can hold them in safety and comfort without it getting weird. So, that's just where I'm at with it, man. So, I'm really excited about what I'm about to walk into with this beautiful human. And let's just jump into it. So, I'll share a little bit about my journey being a bachelor for 50 years. And I'm just curious to hear
I've
y'all
heard.
journey.
That's a great amount of years there being a bachelor. Woo, man, to
That's a
be a
lot.
bachelor for 50 years. Woo.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you go? You go on this one, Quest, because I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum on this one. So why don't you go? You in
Oh,
between the two of us.
yeah, okay, I can take the in between. So, I have been married twice and divorced twice.
Mm,
I currently am a practicing ethical non-monogamous. I do feel like, just from me knowing who I am now, this definitely was the way that I always wanted to approach relationship because I
mm,
always understood that a person could love more than one person at the same time.
mm.
It just is something that I understand, and so currently that is where I am in my relationships status, and I feel good about being able to have a connection with someone
Mm,
that is equal in some ways to what we feel that connection in marriage is,
mm,
but being able to understand that that connection can be something that is not just romantic, that basically can keep you and can ground you in a romantic relationship is something that I knew that could be connected with more than one person. And
Hmm.
being able to have that is something that allows you to really, really take control of who you are,
mm,
but moreover, understand the person that you are with and the fact that you have a responsibility to them.
mm.
And that responsibility is to be transparent at all times about everything, to be vulnerable because we are building, we are growing together, we are learning together, we are supporting each other, to be genuine at all times with each other, right? Because what I see is an opportunity for you to be one of the greatest humans you can to another human, despite anything else. And this person can be with you for the rest of your entire life. And in almost the same ways as we're talking about marriage. So this is the way that I chose to go, and I don't think I don't have any issues with traditional marriage. I think the reason why my marriages didn't work was because, and I'm just being me and being honest about me, is because I was not vulnerable, I was not transparent, I was not genuine.
Ah,
um, and because of those things, I feel like that is what caused the some of the demise in both of my marriages. So
Man,
that's a
we
little
ain't
bit about
wasting
me.
no time today. We just
I know,
like
right?
wop wop
Hey,
wop wop. Like
hey,
we just
hey,
going on.
hey! I'm pulling that out because I'm shifting this right over to Chris so
Ah,
he can tell us a little bit about being on the other end of the
okay,
spectrum.
okay.
Yeah,
I feel you. I
that's
got so many
good.
questions I want to come back to
Right,
on that one.
right.
Man, I'm interested in all kinds of ways on that. I'm like, man, I want to ask about this. I want to ask about that. I know we're gonna get to
Yeah.
that eventually for sure. So yeah, I come at this obviously from the opposite end of this. So Janine and I met back in '96 through a mutual friend, and after about a year and some change of being friends and becoming like best friends, we decided to date. That was October of '98. Or no, October of '97. We decided like let's give this thing a try. She had gotten out of a relationship she had been in for a couple years. I had gotten out of one like about a year or so before then, and I was at this point. I didn't think I was gonna wind up with anybody. Like I was changing, growing in so many different ways. I'm like, who's gonna want to be around all the craziness that is Chris Jones? And all of a sudden, this person comes into my life, and we're just friends for a long time, both wind up single at the same time. Like, well, maybe let's give this a try. I was willing to give her some time because I knew I wasn't going anywhere. She's like, I know what I want. Let's give this a thing. Let's give it a try. So that was October, late October of '97, and I asked her to marry me just after the January 1st of '98. Like it didn't take more than a
Wow.
couple months. Yeah, yeah, man, it was wild.
Dang.
It was pretty
Wow.
wild. It was pretty wild, but it was one of those
Whoa.
things. Like we just knew. And
Wow.
it was that situation. You hear about those things happening here and there, but you just don't know that they really exist. Now, my wife came from a family. Her parents met when they were both really young.
Hmm.
Didn't really date more than just the two of them. It became a thing, and they were together forever. You know, my father-in-law passed away some years ago, back in 2012, but the bond that the two of them share is still strong. Like, she's never had eyes for another man. So my wife kind of grew up seeing
Mm.
that. I
Yeah.
grew up
Oh,
seeing something
wow.
really different from that, but because of all the personal work I've been doing on myself, I knew like there was a strong connection that I felt to this person. It was like, I need to chase this and see where it's going to go. And just on a whim, you know, I asked her one day if she would marry me, and she said, yeah. And just sort of the rest was history from there. So that was January 98
Yeah.
that she said yes. And then we got married in August of 99. So like a year and a half after that we got married. We had our first child right before our first anniversary. So in our first year of marriage, we got
Nice.
pregnant and we're moving and doing a
Dang.
whole bunch of stuff. So I mean, it's been a journey in and of itself. And that way, like meeting young, getting married young after just a little bit of time, having our first child when we were still pretty young in that sense, like still pretty young, at least in the marriage. And then our
Mhm.
second child 5 years after that, after we had moved to Ohio, like all these different things. And it's been a journey though. It's been a journey. Like it's not easy. That's the one thing is when we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-production, and getting all this together, Jamie mentioned what he was going to do, what he was going to talk about, and he heard me go like, and he was like, "What does that mean?" And it was hard for me to answer that because it was like the means a lot of stuff. Like it
It's
just
a
means a
lot.
lot. And it's one of those
Mm.
where when you haven't been married yet, you can't get it until you're in it. It's a thing, man. It's a thing. Like it can be the worst thing that ever happened. It can be the best thing that ever happened. But even when it's the best is not easy. Like I would say for me, it's been the best for us to have been together as long as we have. But it didn't come without a lot in order to get there. And that
Hmm.
relationship, like being a father and being a husband, those are the two biggest accomplishments to me that I think I've had, just being successful in both of those, just because of the amount of investment that it takes in order
Yeah.
to get here today, after all that time. So it's been amazing. The journey's been amazing. It's been challenging and in ways that I needed to be challenged. But when you find somebody that you are willing to be that vulnerable with, when you find somebody that you are willing to accept being challenged by, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And I
Yeah.
wake up
Yeah.
every day really appreciative, to have Janine and our relationship in my life.
Yeah.
I can't help but think about something you said, and it's a knowing um,
Mhm.
feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about that knowing feeling. So you shared something, you know, we're like on opposite ends of the spectrum, and I feel as though I'm somewhere in the middle, um, with what you all have been exposed to in your journeys with marriage. But something you said was about that feeling, and how once you knew, your knower was like, go. And I think about the relationships I've had in the past, and I was a snail pace
Mm.
with relationship. Like we gotta be hanging out for years at a time, and I had never lived with anybody
Wow.
before this woman,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's one thing to be a bachelor, but then also to not have
Hmm.
lived with a woman outside of when I was in college.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
think it was reaching a point where I was ready. I remember I was manifesting this person. I was like every day I was like, God, like I want someone that's gonna do these things in my life, and someone that's gonna challenge me and push me to get to the next
Yeah.
destination. And I
Mm.
would say it every morning. I remember it vividly saying it. And then finally I met this person in a very interesting and unique way, and I remember there were some things very early on in our relation, like very early, like in the first month or two, and I had upset her in some way, and she was like, "Whatever, dude," and I ain't thinking, I was like, "Whatever to you," and this and that. But I remember there was this feeling that
Mm.
I hadn't felt before, and I was like, if I don't try to figure something out, I may never meet
Mm.
somebody quite like her again.
Mm, 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 mm,
Wow.
And I
mm.
remember that, like, the first month and a half in, and my boy was like, Jay, but whatever, man. You JB, and I'm up here like ego, like too bigger than five heads put in one.
Uh,
And
uh,
there was something there that was like, I need to figure out what that feeling is. What is
Mm-hmm.
that for me, where I was just like, I gotta go back and check on this.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just made me think about what you said about your knower when you know, and like we quickly moved in together, like maybe like within 4 months or 5 months, which I had never did before, right? So that's really where the journey started. I remember my
Yeah.
uncle was like, when you live with a human, that human becomes your mirror.
Ooh,
And I
that's
remember
real.
him telling me that, and it just resonated with me. And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, dang, that's so true.
Hmm.
And um, I just that's what I just thought about. So I mean, there's so much to
Yeah.
unpack, and I know that we will over the
Well, you
course of
are,
this time. But
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
I'm in it. I'm in.
you already reflecting. You
You
already
are.
Yeah,
reflecting. So
Yeah.
yeah,
that, yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
yeah.
Well, I
you
was gonna say
know,
one of the things that interests me, just a quick follow up to what you're saying there
uh,
too. It because I kind of was talking about this, but you sort of talked about it as well. It's like you get into these relationships when it's one of those where you are inspired to break all the rules. Like there is a way. Because I
Mm.
remember those first couple months and some of those
Sheesh.
conversations you and I were having. When you're like, man, it's getting
Yeah.
blown up, and this way it's getting blown up in that way. And there was a former JB that would
Mhm.
have like, nope, 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 this happened, I'm out,
mm,
and wouldn't
Mhm.
ever have turned back. It would have been like, cool, I'm good. I know because
yeah,
these are the rules. There's a certain way I need to be treated. These are the rules. You
Yeah.
kept coming back. And it was a couple times in where I was like, you know what? There's something different. There's something different there. He is being challenged in a way that he can't. He's like addicted to that right now. Like he has to go through that because he knows this is a path to, I'm going to say, redemption in a way, and I'm kind of using that histrionically, but this is kind of like a path to redemption. Like there's something in here that I need to experience to get to where it is that I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
And you did it, and you did it.
Yeah.
So how are you
Yeah.
feeling though? Like right now, like how would you say you're feeling
yeah,
Yeah.
about all of this?
Man, first and foremost, extremely excited, extremely proud. You know, and I think one thing that makes me feel really good about it is I've been through the four quarters of this first game of life and relationship with my human, and it's like, man, we had a lot of different plays that didn't work, and had to, got hit a few times. That's just like I think, I feel good about it because it's been tried and tested. Who's to say what else will be tried and tested? But I feel as though we've put in a lot of work on our relationship, uh, where I feel good about this decision. Like I I've met men in the past, or I've had homies or whatever, and it's like they shaking in their boots,
Yeah.
walking up to the altar, or they crying because they like, what am I about to miss, or
Mm.
what am I about to walk away from? But I'm up here like, I'm excited about what I'm about to walk into. What am I walking towards? Like,
Awesome.
because I've seen, I've had enough history of walking alone
Mm.
or walking with people that weren't really, I felt, the quality of human I wanted to have by my side, where I'm like, okay, whew,
yeah.
I can really dial in now to my
I can rock
life. You
with
know what I
her.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
like I got my human, I got my rock, and so cool. Let's really get excited about this next phase of life. Whatever it may be, but I'm just like, it makes me feel really excited, because I'm like,
Yeah,
cool, you
Mm.
know.
yeah, yeah.
So that's how I feel, man. So I'm very excited. I'm very happy. I'm very, um, looking forward to the actual day, and I'm also looking for the day after, so we could relax and breathe and kind of just woo-saw for a
Right,
minute,
Yeah.
you
right,
know, because
right,
you put
right,
so
right.
much time, money, effort, and energy into making this one day special, but really the special has already started and will continue past that day.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So that's
Man,
that's where I
you
am, man. That's where I feel.
that was eloquent. That was eloquent, and I think in that being eloquent too, it was very genuine. You know, coming from a person who has waited 50 years for this moment. So you know, I gotta
Yeah,
ask you, Jay. You know,
yeah,
I gotta ask you
yeah,
what what kept you single this long, bro?
Yeah.
Like
yeah. Sure.
how,
Yeah,
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
and I
yeah,
and
man.
I'm not even gonna say that from an aspect of how you got
How?
your own and reasons that you
Yeah,
about to explain, but for individuals that really want to know
sure.
how how
Man, I think it was a lot of fear.
mm,
Um, yeah, I think it was a lot of fear, man. I think it was, sharing my journey with you all. My mom and my dad had me at a very young age, and my mom was always like, don't bring no kids up in here unless you ready to
mm-hmm,
afford them, and
mm-hmm,
so,
mm-hmm.
and then being raised by my grandparents, they taught me about goal setting at a very young age and writing goals down and doing the things to make those things happen. And I never really put a relationship that high up on a list, uh,
Interesting.
higher than my goals. I was always chasing
Right.
something, or I got to get a crib, or now I got to go do this corporately, professionally. I got to do this, So there was always these things, and a female relationship was always like bottom rung for me,
Wow.
and then I think seeing my friends get married early, CJ mentioned getting married early in their 20s and things like that, and I was always like the one that was envied, the one that was like,
Mm.
dang, Jay, you doing your thing, brother,
Right,
whoop de
right,
whoop
right.
de woo, And I was like, yeah, 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 get done, yeah, all
Yeah.
that, you know. And I think that was cool for a long time,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
in the places I've lived, it was like I haven't really lived in environments like I lived in Atlanta, and people that have lived in Atlanta, they know that that's a playground for a lot of people, and you know what I mean. It doesn't really brew a healthy environment for black relationships and things like that. I still don't see
Mm,
how black relationships really thrive in that environment. I always call it
mm.
Babylon or whatever, but like I just felt like, and more importantly, mentally, I wasn't in that space where I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And I really
Right,
didn't feel
right.
like I was getting ready until like me and Babe was talking about this the other day. Once you hit 40, things start to hit you a little different,
Mm,
and then, but really when you hit 45, it's like, like, okay, I've gone as far as I can possibly go by myself. And so, but I still haven't figured this part out yet. And I just started getting more and more curious about it. And so I think, just like with anything else, right? I reached a point where I was like, I'm ready. I'm
yeah,
ready to start. And I got tired too, man.
yeah.
Like dating and you know, the spiritual connections that you continue to meet and have with people, and then all of a sudden things don't work out. So then you just start to recycle these spiritual things, and it's just like it starts to weigh on you after a while, and you start to feel as though, is there something wrong with me? Like, why do I keep meeting the same type of human, that really is not that
Yeah.
fulfilling, outside
Right.
of flesh and outside of maybe stroking the ego or whatever. But it's like, dang, man, there's got to be more to it than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I
Got to the
think that
point of
was,
being fulfilling.
yeah, I think those were some of the things. But then I think another piece too was my mom. Love her dearly. She has been married a few times in her lifetime, and I think seeing that and seeing how love has impacted
Mm.
her,
Huh.
and I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
like, dang, I don't want to go through that.
Mm.
Like
Mm,
when you think
mm.
about black relationships and how we are as a culture, we don't necessarily have a large pool of healthy black relationships where we like, I want that.
Mm.
We got
Wow.
a whole lot of people that are like, I don't want that. I don't want none of that.
Yeah.
But I really didn't ever really had a lot of role models. So I
Yeah.
think because of that frame, I was like,
Mhm.
I'm cool. I'm not going there.
Got you,
You
got you.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and so it was
Yeah.
all those things wrapped up into one, and then people get married and then they start to realize that the person that they got with they really don't like,
Mm.
or they not really like equally yoked. One go to church, the other one don't, or
Mm.
one
Mm.
one is smart, the other one dumb, or you know what I mean? It's like all these things that they don't recognize and learn until after the fact.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
mm.
so
Yeah.
that's when I was like, for all these different dynamics and reasons, I hate to be long winded, but these are a lot of the reasons why I paused on love in that way.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
Wow.
know,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so
something
when I
else.
started, I think the first part is when I started mentally being like, I'm ready to figure out what's going on with me and love, and what am I scared of, and you know, what am I missing?
Yeah.
That's when the doors started to open. It's interesting too, man. I can't help but say it, and I say this and I pass it to somebody else, but I feel like, you know, CJ was one person that I saw and I looked at and I looked up to, and I was like, well, dang, he been married for a long time, and that's one of my homies. And every time I talk to him, it's a positive outlook on love and
Mm.
relationship. It was never
Wow.
like this tainted image, or he never had anything bad to say about black love. It was like, yes, challenging and things like that, but I never
Yeah.
felt as though it was one of those things where I was like, I want to learn more about that. So
Wow.
I think one of the first times me and CJ got together was to talk about, man, I need some coaching. Like I need
Yeah. I hear you.
some help. Like
Yeah.
I
I'm
hear you.
failing. So I reached into one of my peers and one of my mentors that I felt was a role model in this way, and I was like, can you help me here? And honestly, those
Mm.
conversations helped morph and start the 40/50 Social Club, because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
That's what's
started
up.
talking about things that I thought would make me be a healthier human,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what's up.
relationally. So yeah,
I
man,
appreciate
I
that.
got a lot from that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that. And I'll throw one of the in there, just hearing you say what you just said, and thank you for that. By the way, like that means a lot. That definitely means a lot to hear. And as you were talking, and that idea, like we talked about knowing before, or that idea of you've only heard me talk about this in really, really positive ways. And it doesn't mean that everything is wholly positive. It doesn't mean that at all. But
Sure.
what I found myself coming back to, and I'm interested in whether or not you felt this with Cheetah, Quest, if you have felt this before. I remember when I brought Janine home, and I brought, women home before, like meet family, do whatever. A couple of them I brought home that I may have been excited about or whatever, and I was obviously excited about Janine, but I saw my mom have a really different look, and I wasn't sure what it was. And so one day she and I were just sitting in the kitchen. I'm like, "Ma, like what's going on?" Like I want to know what you think. And she just
Mm,
had this really pensive expression. She's like, I just met somebody. Essentially, this is what she said. She's like, I just met somebody in the flesh who's been with you the whole time. Like this is that other energy that has always been right there with you, but just didn't have a
Mm.
form. And I
That's
see
what's
that
up.
person fit into that. And I was like, okay, all right. Like I get that. So again, when I
mm.
think about the knowing, I knew it in my heart there was something. But then the people that know you well, for them to tell you things like that, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, there is something about this that's really, really different. So I think it's easier for me, even despite how hard it's been at moments, it's really easy for me to like truly focus on things that brought us together because they've been really pure. But like for
Yeah.
y'all, is that something you have felt?
Well,
Go ahead, Quest.
no, no, Jay, because I'm gonna end it up for you. So
Oh, okay.
go ahead, go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you made me think about the relationships that black men have with their mothers. And when Ma say something, it hit different.
Absolutely.
You know, I think about, to your point, I think about relationships I've had over the course of my life, and Mom be like, when you gonna be done playing around, and where you find her, and she look good but she hollow, or all these different things, and then but then like when Ma's like, ooh, I like that, I like her, I like how she fits with you, you all fit. It's like, dang, I need to look into that deeper.
Mm.
I need to go inspect that some more, and really try to figure out what my mom is seeing, or some of the people near and dear to me. What are they seeing? Just to make sure, I want to make sure I'm seeing the same thing. Like if somebody tell me that they see something that I look up to and I value their opinion, I'm pulling out the microscope now. You
Mm.
know, so that's it. Just hit different for me when it's coming from my mom or somebody that I hold very near and dear to me.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yo, I think I'm gonna leave us with a couple questions and we're gonna get out of here. But I'm gonna leave you
yeah.
like this. Everything that has been said, what if it was 5 times?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Everything that has been said,
Wow.
everything that has been said, what if you had that type of relationship with someone else,
Mm.
plus the one that you had it with right now? And everyone was transparent, everybody knew. What if your family members also knew and everyone understood it? You took the time to make sure that those things that you all talked about that were tripping people up while they were in those relationships, you took the time to vet a lot of that out before you even got to a point where you decided to say to yourself that you were going to make that person your partner.
Mm. Wow.
What if I
Yeah.
told you that you could get to that level and you could be at that level, a level in which basically would lock you in just as trusting and as true as standing there at that altar and giving that commitment over to God? What if I told you you could do that sitting right here, right there, and that it feels the same identical way?
Dang.
What if I told
Mm,
you? What if I told you? And we are
yeah.
going to leave that for all of you to check
That's how
back
you
in
go
with
end
us
it. Oh my gosh.
because this is a series that is going to surely take you to the next level. Hey,
Hey, that's something for the comments right there. Like I got to see what people. I got to hear some reactions. I got to read some reactions on that. So anybody who's watching this, if you're watching us, please leave a comment on that last question. That's
got
gonna
you.
launch us into something for sure. I love it. I love it.
Next week, next week, got to
That's
open
what's
up with a
up.
little bit of it. But
Okay.
Jay, this amazing journey that you are
Absolutely.
on, my brother, embrace it. Thank you for allowing us to share it with the rest of the world,
Yeah,
bro.
man.
And we
Absolutely.
can't we can't wait to be with you coming up here soon in our city,
There
the
we
city of
go.
Nice.
Chicago.
There we
So
Let's
we'll
go.
be
do
here
it.
with you
Let's do
soon,
it.
bro.
All
Yeah,
right, man.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't wait
yeah.
for y'all to get here, man. Can't
Yes,
wait for y'all to
sir.
get
Yeah.
here. All right, y'all. We gonna see
All
y'all
right.
soon. See y'all real soon. Peace.
I hope you had a great time with us here today on the 4050 Social Club. Click the like button below if something today caught your attention and you want to hear and see more. And follow us on our social media platforms that are below. Until we meet again, we hope that you found this healthy and helpful towards making these years the best years of your life.